remembered by one thing more than anything else, okay? And I'm talking about draft night.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a Hall of Famer who comes out of this class. We just don't know who he is, what position he plays, but someone will go to Canton in 20 years that came out of this class. But in terms of draft night, there was no bigger story. And I'd like to say draft night, it was draft weekend. Shedeur kept on falling and falling. Phil, it's the greatest NFL draft slide in the history of the draft.
It's insane, Zach. To be honest with you, it's insane. Not because of it's the falling, but it's because of the hype. Because everybody thought Shedeur was going to be a top 5 draft pick, and he ends up falling to the 5th round. 5th round draft picks get cut. I've seen multiple 5th round draft picks that don't even go into camp. That you go to rookie mini camp and you don't do well, they cut you because there's no money tied to you pretty much. This is insane. Guys, it's insane. Dramatic.
We've never seen anything like it. Ever. And he goes from potential number 1 overall, betting favorite this time last year, because the odds are going to come out here this week of who's number 1 for next year's draft. $1 paid you $1 on Shedeur Sanders this time last year. He was a literal 1-to-1 favorite to be the number 1 overall pick, and he goes from 1st to 144th. What were you thinking throughout the weekend? Did you talk to any other CU people? Were you hearing from people you respect in the business that was like, hey, like this is what I was hearing about this or whatever?
No, so as players and teammates or people that have played the game, like it's crazy to see, Zach. It's like this man cannot be this bad. You can't have 7, I want to say there were 7 other quarterbacks drafted before him that are better than Shedeur Sanders. But then I start to do talk on the phone to a couple of people that are inside buildings, and it came down to, hey, look, like people have grades on Shedeur Sanders, and a lot of the media, like us, are hyping him up. Whereas there's a lot of people in the buildings that didn't think Shedeur was as good as we were hyping him up to be, and they had different grades. It just so happened that almost every single team had a same kind of grade on him, which was in the 3rd to 4th to 5th round. I thought I had a guy that texted me saying, hey, he might slip to the 3rd or 4th round. I didn't think he was going to slip to the 5th round.
No, Phil, no one did. His draft day over-under was 21.5. Like, it was like, will he make it past Pittsburgh at 21st overall? So, like, I think that a couple things happened here. One, the media speculation and draft rankings were different than the organizations, but I also don't think organizations had him listed as a 5th round type of pick.
No.
They might have had a 2nd round grade on him or a 3rd round grade. And then you have the other stuff, all the other stuff that came out here, and that's why it goes to the 5th.
But you mean to tell me, Zach, like this is a little fishy. Like nobody wanted to pick up Shedeur Sanders, and the team that ends up picking Shedeur Sanders drafted a quarterback before Shedeur? Dillon Gabriel from Oregon already has 3 quarterbacks on the roster.
Crazy.
Kenny Pickett and old man Flacco.
Yeah.
You still got Deshaun Watson.
Insane.
And so like to me, the pickup didn't make sense anyway. It's like you already have enough quarterbacks. Why are you taking Shedeur Sanders? Why are you going in the 5th round and picking up Shedeur Sanders? Like is it a sorry pick? Like it's like I feel sorry for you and we're going to pick you up because nobody else will?
A pity pick.
A pity pick.
A pity pick.
That's what it might look like. It looks like.
Oh, my God.
Zach, if Shedeur Sanders does not get picked up by the Cleveland Browns, I don't know if the man gets drafted. I don't know if the man gets drafted if the
Phil,
Cleveland Browns.
You may be right.
Who else was going to draft him?
Honestly, this is going to sound crazy, but if he's there in the 6th or 7th round and you're Denver, you might think about taking him. Because at that point, he's just an extreme value
Well, you
pick.
heard with Sean. Sean was surprised.
He was. This is, I have that here somewhere. Yeah, this is Sean Payton on Shedeur not being drafted yet.
I mean, if you're a team that needs a quarterback, I mean, we kind of know at the start of the draft who those teams are. Now, again, I saw him when he was in junior high, and then I saw him when he was in high school, and then I saw him when he was a sophomore in high school come practice on their way to Florida. I've had a chance, and I've known Dion. I felt like I grew up watching him play. He's going to, like, there'll be this chip on his shoulder and beware, because this guy's going to play in this league. I think it's hard for any of us to explain what other people are looking for. We focus on what we're looking for. Yeah, I mean, I think it's surprising.
So just about everyone is surprised, but I think that.
Come on, Zach. This looks more like a blackballed thing.
Really, you think he's been blackballed?
Why not? Like, okay, 3rd round, 4th round, but you drop to the 5th, and maybe if the Browns don't pick you up, which the Browns didn't need to, you may end up not getting drafted at all.
So go through blackballed. Like when you say blackballed,
like blackballed, blacklisted. It's like people get to come together. Let's just say the owners. They come together and say, "Hey, look, we are not going to draft this kid, guys, and we're going to put our hands up." Everybody,
Phil, you don't believe that.
Hey,
you don't
Zach,
believe that.
This is the NFL.
You don't believe.
We don't know what goes behind with the owners, with $1 billion and what goes on there. I might sound crazy.
You do for sure. For
All
me,
right.
You sound psychotic.
Well, you better go and do some research. I sent
do
you
some research.
I sent you something.
Where should
earlier.
you start with my research on Shedeur
Sanders
Sanders getting blackballed?
Hey, look, I sent you something earlier. Make sure you go back and review it because it's a guy that's talking about how.
Who's the guy?
Boomer
Esiason.
Yes.
And what did he say?
He pretty much said that like the owners, it looked like the owners blackballed him.
Does it look like the owners, or is he reporting that the owners got together in a
I can't sit here
clandestine
and say
meeting
he
and were
reported.
like?
That's what it sounded like.
So
though.
why would they do that? Why would they do that to Shedeur?
Because they're teaching his father a lesson. Zach, do you remember when Prime was on, I don't know who he was with, and they were talking about Cleveland drafting Shedeur, and Prime said something in the lines of like, Shedeur's not going to Cleveland. And if I have to step in, I will.
Yes.
You don't think Cleveland heard that and saw the video? And isn't it ironic that Cleveland's the one that ends up picking you up at the end there?
Wait, so Cleveland is punishing themselves in this scenario?
Why? They're not punishing. Why? He's a 5th-round draft pick. If it doesn't work out, they don't have to give him any money.
But you're drawing a coincidence.
What Cleveland is saying is you need us. What Cleveland's saying to Prime is like, look, you need us. You sat there and told the world that you would never let Shedeur come to us. And now look at you. Like, you need us to draft your son, so we're going to do that. We're going to do a good deed and draft your son.
You're going to do a good deed.
That's what it looked like. Why? Why would the Browns draft Shedeur in the 5th round?
Because he's a value pick. But
they just drafted Dylan Gabriel, who was at the Heisman. Like, he could have won the Heisman.
Yep.
You have.
But it's a quarterback position.
Deshaun Watson. So you have Flacco. You have Kenny Pickett that you gave a 3rd-round draft pick for. So, like, why?
It's extreme value at the most important position that
my man's not going to get a lot of reps. My man may only get 3 reps each period. He's a 5th-round draft pick with a loaded quarterback room, and Shedeur is better than a lot of those quarterbacks. But will they give him the opportunities? There's only one football that can go around. Flacco or Kenny Pickett may end up being the starter at the beginning of the season.
I want to get this on the record though. Do you actually believe that there was collusion, that the NFL owners got together and said...
How does this man fall? How does this man fall all the way to the 5th round? Is Dylan Gabriel really that much better than Shedeur Sanders?
Do you think Dylan Gabriel's going to be the starter?
No.
Neither do I. But so if you're drafting for a backup quarterback, and that's what you're doing in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, you're not drafting your starter. Do you want the headache and the noise that comes with Shedeur Sanders? Noise that comes with Shedeur Sanders.
All you have to tell the young man is to stop using his video camera and cut it all out, or you'll be out of here. Especially after he dropped out of the 1st and 2nd round. He's not making any money now. So it wouldn't really matter. You could put him in the 3rd round and still get cut. 3rd rounder could still get cut. He's not in the top 5.
Okay, so
Zach, it's just weird, man. All I'm saying is it's weird that Shedeur Sanders is not that bad of a quarterback to slide all the way to the 5th round, and 7 quarterbacks got picked in front of him.
I agree.
You don't mean to tell me that that's a coincidence?
No, I don't.
And that everybody wasn't talking?
No. I think it's the opposite of a coincidence. I think what happened is natural consequences for several different things happening at the same time. One, the media's grades on Shedeur was different than NFL organizations.
I can agree with you on that.
Okay. And then you have the worst pre-draft process that we've ever seen, like in more commentary and people talking about, like, we've never seen someone come out of the pre-draft process with that kind of stink on them like Shedeur.
There was a lot of noise coming out of there.
So you have a quarterback who's graded just a little bit higher by the media, and I'll raise my hand because I thought he's the best quarterback in this class. So you have a different grade from actual NFL organizations, okay, in a class that is one of the lower regarded classes in recent quarterback
Supposedly
memory.
there was supposed to be 2 top 10 quarterbacks or just first round quarterbacks taken.
Which is unusual. Those guys typically get overdrafted. So you already have a down class, okay? You have draft grades from the organizations that are different from media that have Shedeur lower. You have the worst pre-draft process that we've ever seen in recent memory. If there was a worse one, point them out. Maybe the linebacker from Alabama years ago that went crazy in his medicals, and I forget his name, Reuben Foster.
Reuben Foster.
So you have different grades from media to organization, the worst pre-draft process in recent memory, and you have a bunch of noise around what is ultimately going to be a backup quarterback.
What do you mean a bunch of noise? But what do you mean a bunch of noise? Like a bunch of noise. He's a backup now.
Right,
It's not going to matter. Like now that you brought Shedeur Sanders to Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders is still going to be loved, and everybody's going to be talking about a backup that's on a 4th string backup, because that's who Shedeur is going to be at the beginning of all this.
Yeah, probably.
Is when he steps foot in the building, he's literally going to be 4th on the depth chart.
But do you agree that Shedeur Sanders comes with a lot of noise around him?
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot of noise, but it's not just from Shedeur, it's from his father. And that's why at the beginning, like when I said all this, it was like, yo, his daddy messed this up for him. What his dad did messed it up for him. And it didn't help that Shedeur Sanders didn't have a mind of his own and say, Dad, you got to stop.
Yeah.
And Dad, maybe I should do this interview, or Dad, maybe I should do a couple more things and let me do this because I feel like it's going to help me out.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is, like, even though, and we talked about this on Friday and disagreed mightily, is that I put more onus on Shedeur, you put it more on Dion. But if you're an NFL franchise, you're not sitting there in the war room being like, well, what percentage of the blame pie goes on? It's just altogether a package. It's a package deal of noise.
But also, all you have to do is talk to the kid and say, hey, look, stop it. We want you to come here and just focus on football, because now that's what he needs to do.
Totally. His career's on the line here.
Exactly. And that's all you had to tell the kid. Stop it. Focus on football. Have a mind of your own. Come in here and learn. Not sit here and say, oh, I'm scared because of all the noise that's going to come with him. Like, you are a $1 billion industry. You get to tell this man what to do and how it should be, because you are the head man in charge, the owners, the coaches. And so that's all you have to do is have a conversation.
So okay. But what I'm saying is, like, and I used this term on Friday, like breaking
he
ties.
To the 5th round, though, man.
I didn't
That's
see it coming.
insane.
We had the segment on Friday, what the ceiling, or on Thursday, what the ceiling and floor is for Shedeur, and you were giving me pushback that it's the 2nd round. You couldn't see a scenario. I'm like, so you see no scenario? No. And it was Stokely, too. That they're like, no. Like, whoa, there's no scenario where Shedeur could drop to the 2nd round? No way. Now, did I see 5th round? Of course not. But I think that, like when you start to get into, like, collusion and blackballed, I think
you don't think that can happen?
I'm not saying it can't happen.
How many teams
but in
use
this,
it?
in this scenario, I think it's more simple. I think it's more simple in this scenario.
Tell me this, Zach, isn't it the same teams that usually have a winning record every year? Almost the same exact teams. The teams that usually stay afloat are the same ones that are very consistent. The rest of them
I don't know,
make
Phil.
bad decisions.
No, well,
the rest of them, like, come on, the Browns trading back and giving Travis Hunter, like,
Phil, the Browns were just in the playoffs with a Coach of the Year last year.
And then what happened? They just fell off the face of the earth that next year.
Okay, what happened to San Francisco? They were in the Super Bowl. They fell off the face of the earth and
because
missed the
of
playoffs.
injuries.
The
Though,
Detroit
Zach.
Lions
because of injuries.
suck, and now they're a Super Bowl contender.
The Detroit Lions
Bills sucked for 2 decades, and now they're a Super Bowl contender.
The Detroit Lions built up for this. The Buffalo's built up.
Yeah, but what you're saying, you're like, well, the same teams always win. That's the opposite of the NFL. It's the opposite. Well, we have new playoff teams every single year.
Okay, there's going to be, of course, Zach, there's going to be a couple teams that come out of nowhere and do well. But usually it's the same consistent teams that are always in it. The same teams that have the same kind of formula that are usually in it.
Yeah, for a handful of years, and then they cycle in and out.
And so you mean to tell me that you're not taking a flyer on a kid who's talented?
Phil.
That need a quarterback?
I'm the wrong guy to talk about that. If I'm the Steelers, I'm taking him in the 1st round, whether Aaron Rodgers is coming or not. So I think Shedeur can play. I think Shedeur might be the best quarterback that Cleveland has right now, like right out of the gate.
But they drafted somebody before Shedeur.
Right.
To me, it just doesn't make sense.
Look, there are 2 different conversations of what you think of Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, and why he fell to the 5th round. And I happen to believe it's a more simpler story of how we got here.
The noise.
there's so much noise around Shedeur. We talked about, I gave you the 11 different examples of stuff. Like Deion Sanders.
Well, it looks like it's the noise and the kid can't play. Because if the kid could play and had the athletic ability, you probably would ignore the noise, correct?
If he was that talented. If he was the blue chip talent of like, this is a can't miss dynamo. Like think about Cam Newton coming out of Auburn. It was like, look at this guy.
And he had a bunch of noise.
National champion. He did.
Jameis Winston, another one.
Had a bunch of noise, right?
Was still in crab legs.
Still in crab legs, but it was also, remember, he stood up on the cafeteria table. He did all this stuff. Cam Newton stole the laptop, I think, from one of it. Like his dad took money coming out of JUCO.
Sure. And you have Shedeur Sanders, who hasn't done any of that. Maybe makes some bad rap songs and flashes a watch. And he gets docked more than somebody that has criminal offenses. Like, make that make sense.
Yeah, but you're reducing the Shedeur stuff down to a celebration and making music.
So what's something bad that Shedeur did, Zach?
I went over all 11 things on Friday.
You said 10, by the way. You couldn't get to that 11.
No, I did because you gave it to me up on a platter.
It's
what you did. I forget what was number 11.
Now you forget. Now you're going to tell me I served it up on a platter. Then you forget?
Phil, I went through, and you're asking me to pick 1 through 11. So you're
paying this kid to be so bad.
I know I'm not. No, I'm not. There's
but
noise.
The NFL is too.
Yes. I'm trying to figure out, how did the market speak? They didn't actually speak. The market screamed about Shedeur Sanders. And I think that the story is when you just add it up the way that I did on Friday, went through example by example, which I'm not going to relitigate. You can go listen to the podcast. And they were actually playing that segment over the weekend, by the way, on the Dan Jacobs show, playing our entire segment, which was kind of cool to hear.
Shout out Dan.
No doubt. But so you have like a bunch of these examples where, again, like it's when you take a dive into Shedeur, and I made sure to emphasize this on Friday. We're not talking about someone who's got a felony. We're not talking about someone who, I had the line, he didn't break any security guard's neck like his brother did. Like we're not
for sure.
But there is.
But also he has like the backing of playing good football.
He does.
I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback, and obviously there's grades out there from scouts and coaches that were like, hey, look, he's not who we want. He's not an elite quarterback. Like, that is the case. I've heard it multiple times. So to me, it's just, I don't get why this man slid all the way to the 5th round over some noise, though. Why did
Gardner Minshew slip? He had better stats than Shedeur, more yards, more touchdowns, less interceptions.
What did they say? Why did Gardner Minshew slip?
Won the Johnny Unitas Award, just like Shedeur. He was drafted in the 6th round.
But also...
Was it collusion? Do you think the owners got together and colluded against Gardner Minshew?
But it's Gardner Minshew. It's Gardner Minshew. Nobody knew about Gardner Minshew. He was the Washington State.
He was great. He was all over TV. He was a star, a college football star. Mike Leach was wearing the mustache. Everyone knew about Gardner Minshew. He was one of the best stories. Slipped in the 6th round. They must have blackballed him.
So you sit here and want to compare Gardner Minshew to Shedeur Sanders.
Because on Friday
Sanders?
You're going Cam Ward. They have the same stats. Gardner Minshew had way better stats, won the same award, and went in the 6th round. I think the market just spoke. They said, we don't think you're Cam Newton. We don't think you're Jameis.
And I can agree with that.
Yeah, bunch of noise.
The slide to the 5th round?
We're 1 tweet away from your father.
Slide to the 5th.
We're one tweet away from your father.
That's what it's all about.
And I put it together in the package. We can disagree on who's more to blame, but the NFL... This is as recent as Thursday. Deion went on Twitter to Dan Orlovsky, who does a low light.
I saw that.
Do you see that? He does a low light video for every quarterback.
What did I say? What did I say? I said Shedeur Sanders needs to stop letting his dad dictate everything.
I agree.
I truly believe
we agree on that. We agree on that. Where we happen to go separate ways is I put more onus on Shedeur because he's a grown-ass man. His literal nickname is grown. And you put more on Deion.
Yeah.
But if you're an NFL organization and it's close, do you want to invite that noise where it's like, we're 1 tweet away from Deion Sanders tweeting to his 10 million followers that a Shedeur should be starting?
Why does it matter, though? Who cares? Everybody does that. Everybody does that. If a quarterback is messed up, they're going to tell him to sit.
Everyone's dad is not an icon.
But so why is everybody scared of his dad? What is his dad going to do to this organization? This organization in the NFL just proved to all of us that nobody is bigger than the game. That was more to his dad saying, look.
It could have been.
It was.
Well, I disagree with you. I put more onus on Shedeur. You put more onus on Deion. But if you're an NFL organization,
here we go again. You're arguing. You're putting more on a kid who all he has done his whole life is listen to his dad.
But he's not a boy.
He's still a kid.
He's a grown millionaire, Phil. He's a grown
23,
millionaire.
but isn't it different? Isn't it 23 to 25 to 27? Isn't that different?
Of course.
And when all you know is what your dad says, isn't that different?
But you see, okay. Like,
when do you branch off? Like when do you start to branch off when something like this happens? This right here makes you grow up. This right here is like, okay, Dad, not everything you say is always going to be right. And now I need to start having a mind of my own. And if I don't feel comfortable doing something, then I don't need to do it. Because now I feel like what Dion has done is put his kid in a bad situation on top of his kid doing some of the stuff. But we're sitting here acting like this kid is bad.
No, I'm not.
The attention is so bad that
No, this all goes in the same gumbo. While me and you disagree on where the more onus lies, if you're an NFL franchise, do you want to go down that road for a backup quarterback? Do you want to go down that road? And the NFL said no. And I don't think it was the owners meeting behind the scenes and blackballing them. I don't believe that. I think it's a more simpler story of you're not a starter, you're a backup, but man, you come with so much noise. I heard Mike Evans use this example this morning. Like Tim Tebow, he was shown the door by the league. It's like you're not a starter.
But at some point,
you're not a starter. But if we bring you here, there is so much noise, and that wasn't like it was just noise. And Tim Tebow's not a bad guy. Just like I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a bad guy. But do you want that much noise around a backup quarterback?
So what's the noise around this kid? Like what's the noise around Shedeur right now, Zach?
Phil, what's the noise around Shedeur?
Like literally,
we had 7 different coaches, scouts, or executives.
What I'm saying is this: once you get in that building, it's all about what you do on that football field. If the noise becomes a problem, you will be out of there. And now that Shedeur wasn't drafted in the first 2 rounds, money doesn't matter now.
So the
Steelers still need a quarterback. So decided to not go for him.
So when Shedeur meets with the Giants, and Brian Daboll gives him something to prep for.
Yeah.
He doesn't prep for it. This is what got Bo drafted last year, by the way. You don't prep for it, and then he's like, "Why? You don't know this stuff?"
But guess what? But now we're talking about. I'm not talking about being a starter now. Now I'm talking about Shedeur Sanders being a backup. I'm talking about somebody giving a fight like the Browns finding a way to still draft Shedeur Sanders when they could have drafted him over someone like Dylan Gabriel. What I'm saying now is like, yo, if it wasn't for the Browns doing their part, Shedeur Sanders would not have got drafted.
Maybe so.
And is that a coincidence? So. If Shedeur doesn't get drafted,
I don't think it's a coincidence. You had the worst pre-draft process of all time.
There's been multiple people with bad draft process that doesn't come out.
When have we heard it this loud?
Because it's Shedeur Sanders and it's a loud name.
Exactly.
But it's a loud name.
It's a loud whole situation. And NFL teams are like, you want to know what? The juice isn't worth the squeeze on this one.
And it's just one? Or is it all of them talking? They all talk, Zach. They all talk. It's its own community.
So you believe it was collusion?
I believe towards the end when everybody's talking, I think they made a mockery of it. It was funny. I think for them, it's like, let's see how bad this can really get.
Man.
And honestly, it has us talking, has everybody talking, has the ratings going up. They should thank that young man. The ratings went up.
They did. They were up 40% for day 2.
Which is crazy.
And it was Shedeur. Why?
That's wild.